Let's go. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Dose with Dylan Davis as we are streaming to you guys live through the Painted Lines YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter accounts. If you're new to the channel, please give the Painted Lines a follow at the Painted Lines on Twitter or hit that subscribe button on their Twitch and YouTube accounts. Today, I am joined by my guy, Mark Henry. He is the Tough Cover podcast host here at the Painted Lines. He's also got a little WWE podcast coming out. Actually just debuted at WrestleMania with the live watch party. That's what we were just discussing before we went live here, living back in my childhood for a second. But you can follow him on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _ Mark, how was your weekend? How did you like that Sixers beat down last night against the Mavericks? And how was WrestleMania?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We started the Marking Out Pod with Mark, the WWE podcast for WrestleMania. We did a 4.5-hour watch along. My voice is still sore from it, but it was great. It was I like that they did WrestleMania on 2 nights this year. It was fantastic. But more importantly, the Sixers last night come out with a huge win, and then during WrestleMania, during my watch party, Alec Boehm touched home plate. So we got that win out of the way while I didn't even watch that game. I had it on my phone, like in the background during the WrestleMania stream.
Oh, you probably didn't even know what was going on.
No, I had no idea. I was like, I got the notification like on the top while I was watching it. And I was like, oh, the Phillies scored. And I like went back to watch it. And I looked back and they were reviewing it. I was like, oh my God. But it's a great weekend for Phillies. I guess not a great weekend, but the last couple of days have been great. Hopefully the Phillies continue it today.
You know, it started out rough. The Sixers dropped a bad one in New Orleans. The Phillies lost their first 2 in Atlanta to the Braves, but they turned things around. So today's show, we do have a lot to unpack, Mark, because we can dissect that Sixers win over the Dallas Mavericks last night. Joel Embiid has returned to MVP form, it looks like. I have the numbers for everyone for Ben Simmons versus Luka Doncic's matchup. I know everyone's going to look at that 32-point number and laugh at Ben and think, oh, that's not my defense player of the year. Well, I got the numbers for you, so we'll get into that later. And also, you got them on, I got them on. They're in your background. The Phillies were postponed last night due to the rain in New York, so they have a double header today, starting just after 4 o'clock. That's why we're early today here on the Daily Dose. Chase Anderson gets a start in game 1 for the Phillies, and then followed by our ace, Aaron Nola, gets the start in game 2. But before we get into all that, Mark, we do have a message from our sponsors here at XL Media. So hold on tight, guys. We will be right back.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
There you guys have it, from a message from our sponsors at XL Media and BetRivers. Mark, I did just see the Sixers Twitter posted that Ben Simmons is currently live on NBA The Jump with Rachel Nichols. So we do have some competition here at 3 o'clock on the Daily Dose, but we appreciate everyone watching. And guys, please comment as much as you guys want to and join the conversation, and we'll get to as many as we can. Mark, let's start with the game that took place last night in Dallas as the Sixers take down Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks 113-95 to finish up their 4-game road stand with a 3-1 record. It is the second straight game of that road stand where they held their opponent to under 100 points, and they got to rest their starters in the fourth quarter. Now, the biggest thing that we can discuss is our MVP looks back and maybe more dominant than ever. I know Brian Jacobs here at the Painted Lines put out a tweet not too long ago, and you know what, it's hard to disagree. He's like, last night with that little stretch, albeit against, lackadaisical center and big man play from Dallas, that might have been the most dominant stretch of play we've seen from Joel Embiid in a game. Like, after he flexed on Cauley Stein, dude, he got whatever he wanted. And there were 3 or 4 possessions in a row almost where he was just eyeing up the double team. The double team was coming, and he hit the one fadeaway. He turned away from it, went baseline, fadeaway, knockdown. Like, he was unbelievable last night. Joel Embiid finished with 36 and 7, but he had 36 in 25 minutes, Mark. 36 points on 10 of 17 shooting from the field, 14 of 15 from the line. To start that game, I thought, my God, he's going to shoot 30 free throws tonight. This game's going to take 8 hours. But nonetheless, Joel Embiid dominates, gets the Sixers a comfortable lead, and gets to rest those knees in the fourth quarter and late in the third quarter. So talk to me first. Any takeaways you have overall, and then we'll get into the big fella as well.
Yeah, I was saying before we went on, it's like there's really not that much you can say about that Sixers game from last night other than, going on and on and on about just how insanely good and how lucky we are to have Joel Embiid. Like, he is just another level that we never even have seen him get to before at this point in terms of how he impacts the game on both sides. I know he averaged 27 and 14 a few years back, but the only thing he's really up on from that year is scoring and just the analytic numbers. But he is just on such a different level night to night and on a consistency basis that we just haven't seen from him before. And I've said it before on this show, we have never, he's the best player or the most dominant player in Philadelphia that I can remember since I almost want to say Ryan Howard, but Ryan Howard wasn't the best player in baseball. Joel Embiid right now, fully healthy, is the best player in basketball. I think that we're insanely lucky to have that on our basketball team, our favorite team that we get to watch every night. And I just don't think we should take it for granted, because there was a point last night where it was late in the third quarter. We're up 17 points. Joel's got 33 or 34, wherever he had. I tweeted it out. No one else had 10 points. We were dominating that game without anyone besides Joel really playing well. Eventually, Furkan ended up pouring it on once we were already up. He had 20, yeah. Furkan's looked great over the last 4 or 5 games. He looks like he's definitely someone who can play and won't kill you. And then Ben Simmons came out after the game and said, it looks like he's taken a step defensively, and I'd agree with that. So that's honestly, those are the 2 takeaways I have from the game. It's just that a huge takeaway, Joel Embiid's the best player in the world. A smaller takeaway, Furkan Korkmaz is playable, in my opinion. So I think that those are really the only 2 takeaways. I'm not really putting any negative takeaways into some of these guys who didn't have big scoring nights or didn't shoot it a lot or anything like that, because we handled the game. I think if we needed those guys to step up, one of them would have, or a couple of them would have. And we just didn't need that because the big fella put it on his back and said, I'll take it home.
Look, man, I saw a tweet before the game where the Sixers fully healthy and Dallas fully healthy. Now, they didn't have the unicorn last night. I know that. But their starting lineups together are in the top 5 record-wise when they're fully healthy. And the Sixers put that on full display last night. I thought they'd win the game. But with the way Luka had been playing, they were home. They just lost the game at home the night before in Dallas. I thought the game would be much closer. And it was in the beginning. And then, like you said, man, just to see, if you're just box score watching, okay, yeah, Embiid had 33, whatever, 32, whatever he had at the time. But like you said, everyone else was in single digits. Maybe Ben was at 10 at that, whatever it was. And it's shouldn't this game be closer? He was that dominant and affected the game that greatly that I completely agree. He is the most dominant player in the NBA right now, in my opinion. He is the MVP of the league. I don't care that he's on pace to miss a quarter of the season. As long as he doesn't really miss any more games in the last 18 and he continues to play at this level and the Sixers either win the 1 seed or they lose the 1 seed to Brooklyn by a game or half a game, he is the MVP of the league, in my opinion. That I agree wholeheartedly. That is the biggest takeaway last night. Now, to go off your Furkan point, I'm not going to be negative Nancy today about Furkan. I said it earlier. You know, I want Furkan to contribute. I really want Furkan to be playable in the postseason. I think people get that twisted with my hate on him and how I criticize him over and over again. I do. With what you just said, look, we've seen Furkan go on hot streaks before. There was a weekend last year or 2 years ago, I think it was last season, where he scored over 60 points in a weekend in 2 or 3 games, right? So we've seen Furkan go through hot stretches. I had Tyrone Johnson on the show, not too long ago, and one of his biggest things with Furkan was, look, he wants Furkan to be successful too. I need to see it. I need to see him get that shot off against good teams, good defensive teams, the Milwaukees, the Miamis, the Brooklyns of the world, the Boston Celtics of the world. He hasn't done that. Okay, he got 20 against OKC in a starting role. Okay, he dropped 20, and you alluded to it. The Sixers had already blown the game wide open for the most part in last night's ball game. So don't get me wrong. If he can continue to shoot around 40% from 3, he has taken a step defensively. I've taken notice of that. If he's not a constant negative on the floor, I'm all for it. But I do need to see it against better teams. And I'll tell you what, Mark, no better time to keep his hot streak alive, because the Sixers come home to some tough matchups with the Clippers, the Nets, the Suns, the Warriors. Then they go on the road for Milwaukee for 2 games. So now's the time to prove me wrong and show me, Furkan, that you are playable in the postseason. I hope he does. It'll be another added piece, another weapon, so to speak, for this team to have. But I do agree with everything you said there, Mark. Let's move on to the other side of the floor, because that's where he affected the ball game last night. So Ben Simmons, I guess for a lot of people, didn't have his coming out game again last night because he didn't give the 20 points that they crave or the 15 points that he craved last night, but he affected the game in a lot of ways. One play that stood out, dude, that double spin move in transition, and then I think he gave it to Seth for the 3. I don't know if people will understand how impressive or the level of difficulty there is to that, but he shows it, and I get why people want to see more of it offensively. But when you look at the defensive side of the ball, and I know I'm surprised there aren't people in the comments. I know there's people all over social media clowning Ben. Luka had 32 last night, laughing, box score watching. Okay, let's get down to business here, Mark, because you could tell me what you saw after I get this off my chest. Here are the numbers. In 18 possessions last night, guarded by Ben Simmons, Luka Doncic got off 5 shots. He made 2 on Ben. He made 1 with Ben as the help defender. 3 shots in 18 possessions. 3 makes in 18 possessions with Ben Simmons as his primary defender. You saw it from the opening jump. Dallas, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have that game plan. Obviously, you want to put Luka in better positions. You don't want him going one-on-one with Ben Simmons all night. I get that. But Dallas wanted no part. Luka wanted no part of that matchup last night. Ben was picking this dude up at the edge of the logo when he crossed half court. There were multiple times in the first half where Luka would drive, and if Ben didn't get switched off of him, Luka was bailing out at the last second and kicking it back out sloppily at that. And they were trying to screen and switch the Sixers and Ben Simmons to death last night. I get it. He dropped 32. He hit a really deep 3 at one point in the game. You know what? First of all, Luka, please stop crying, because that's one part of his game I can't stand. I'm not going to lie to you. Outside of that, I love him as a player. But Ben Simmons continues to impact the game on the defensive end of the floor, whether people want to, just focus on his offensive weakness right now or not. That was a takeaway for me last night. Mark, tell me what you saw with Ben Simmons defensively.
Yeah, I mean, he's the same Ben as he is always. He did have 1 steal off of, I don't know if it was Luka actually. I think it was Luka. Luka threw it he drove and kicked kind of in Ben Simmons fashion, and Ben just took it and ran with it and got an assist. Ben had 7 assists and 1 turnover last night too. Even on the other side of the floor, Ben was great. We're all going into the, everyone's talking about Ben Simmons getting traded this offseason in our one Discord on TPL, and it's just like we controlled that game from like second quarter on last night. I think it's hard to take away a lot of stats. Even I think your point on Luka is spot on. They obviously went into the game with a game plan of trying to get Luka off of Ben and trying to get Luka on a Seth Curry or on a Shake Milton or on whoever was the weak spot on the floor defensively that they thought they could attack with Luka. And it didn't work because, in my opinion, when you've seen Dallas this year, I watch a lot of the Dallas Mavericks. Luka, just full disclosure, because I know there's going to be a lot of there has been a lot of negative Luka talk in the last 24 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
Luka's my favorite non-Sixer in the league to watch. He's my fantasy dynasty keeper. I love Luka Doncic. I watch the Mavs all the time, and I don't think Kristaps Porzingis is some special top 25, top 30 player. But the Mavs have really done Luka Doncic a disservice to how they've built that team over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
They've had cap space to add a third guy to Kristaps and Luka, and it just seems like they haven't. And that Seth Curry for Josh Richardson trade was a really bad trade for them from a fit perspective. Seth Curry was really important and a perfect off-ball point guard to have, just like he is here with Ben Simmons. And not that Luka and Ben are that similar, but they're non-point guards who handle the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So Dallas has made a lot of mistakes surrounding Luka with talent. So then when you pluck Kristaps out of that lineup and the second best player is what, like Jalen Brunson or like
Probably, yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith or like I don't know. I don't know who teach it, or Tim Hardaway Jr. maybe, but that's really a big drop off from who was your third best player, now your second best player. Not that Kristaps is some special player. He would have at least thrown a little bit of a different look at Joel Embiid. Not that he's a great defender or someone that can body up with Joel, but he at least would have made Joel work a little harder. He wouldn't have gotten – I think Dallas used 4 centers in the first 15 minutes of the game against Joel. So it was like – I don't think there's a lot you can take away from it on either end, really. I wouldn't say that Luka's overrated or anything like that. I'm just saying that because me and Austin Crow got in a little argument in the Discord. It was actually we ended up basically agreeing, but I think he thinks that people consider him like top 3, and I think he's a top 10 player. So I think calling any top 10 player overrated is kind of like, what are we looking for? But
yeah.
I thought Luka was not great last night, but like you said, he still did end up with 32. I know a lot of it was in garbage time. I know it wasn't on Ben Simmons, but that game was over from the second quarter on. It's really hard to evaluate, how we looked against Luka or how Luka looked. Or I saw that someone said he looked frustrated, and he did. He did look frustrated. Luka gets really frustrated. Luka's really competitive. And that goes to your point on complaining to the refs. He's actually second in the NBA in technical fouls. So it definitely backs up everything you're saying about Luka. I think Luka is such a special talent, and I think his IQ is just on another level. I just hope that in the next year, hopefully next year, I know it sounds weird from a Sixers fan talking about hoping for things from other teams and players, but I hope that
as a fantasy owner.
Yeah. I hope that Dallas surrounds Luka with the correct type of players around him. I think Kristaps can work. Like I think it can work with Luka and Kristaps as your two guys, whatever. You just got to get the right. You just got to get the right wings, especially defensively, and the right type of point guard, which Steph Curry was. So I think that there's a lot they can do there. I see a comment here real quick.
Yeah.
Who's first in text? Dwight? Yeah, it's Dwight. He's played about a quarter of the minutes Luka has, but it is Dwight. I'm not gonna. Dwight actually. He didn't piss me off that badly last night, so I'm not gonna go into Dwight. Mike Scott sucks always, but. It was fine. We didn't get killed by it. It was better. Dwight actually had a better plus minus than Joel last night, which shows that the stack can be flawed.
Anthony Tolliver, please get to Philadelphia and impress a little bit. Just impress a little bit in the 10 games and get Mike Scott out of the rotation, please. But the thing that stuck out the most about Luka's frustration was when he airballed 2 threes in a row. I think it was that play when he airballed 2 threes in a row. Joel gave him a little smirk or had some words for him. And then you just see Joel take off down the floor and Luka's stuck there talking to the refs, complaining. Joel gets down there, gets a foul or gets a bucket, whatever the case was on that play. But I agree. And, I was, don't sue me. I had the ESPN broadcast on for a large part of the game last night. And they were making a great point. I know a lot of people don't like the broadcast. I'm not a big fan of the broadcast, but they were talking about Luka and you know what? He's got to be the leader of that team. And I know he's young as shit and whatever. And hopefully he'll learn they'll bring someone in or whatever, or with age and experience, he learns to become that leader. But you're the leader of that team. and we get you're frustrated, you're angry with the outcome or how you're playing, blah, 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 but go show it in another way. Like that play just summed it up perfectly. You airball 2 threes. No one contacted you. And instead of getting back, you allowed Joel Embiid to beat you down the floor while you're complaining to the referee to get another foul call and get to the line for 2 points. Like that's the little stuff with Luka Doncic, but I agree he's a top 10 player and he's a lot of fun to watch. And you know what, dude? Like if they finish with that 7 seed where I think they're going to finish, they're going to have to play in the play-in tournament, but I think they'll get in. And then you know what? Luka versus a 2 seed, whoever that 2 seed is, that's not going to be a fun matchup for whoever that 2 seed is to have to play him in the first round. So we'll see how it goes in the postseason.
I do think it's a little similar to Boston, though. I know Dallas has a better record than Boston because the West is it's harder to get into the playoffs. But Boston is kind of like that, where you have Tatum and Brown, so you don't want you look at it. It's like we were talking about last time I was on here. Actually, it's like you look at it from a Sixers perspective as a 1 or the 2 seed, and we don't want to see Boston because they have Tatum and Brown. But then it's like they just have nothing at big man for Joel, and it's like for Dallas, for these teams, if they have to go against the Lakers or the Suns. I really think that that's a tough matchup for Dallas because they don't have enough guys, and I don't think Cuban and them have gotten them enough guys or that third scorer.
See, we'll touch on this before we move on here. What are your thoughts on the play-in tourney? Luka is critical. I hate it. Yeah, I absolutely despise it. So why are we now giving the 10 seed a chance to make the playoffs? Like, so I think it was last year in the bubble where they had the tournament. If the 9 seed was within like a game and a half or 3, whatever it was, the 9 seed and the 8 seed. I don't hate that. I don't know how you feel about that, Mark. Like,
I was actually going to say that.
If the 8 and 9 are within, if the 9 seed is within like 2.5 games or 3 games of the 8 seed, and they play a little 1 game or 3 best of 3 series to get that 8 seed, I'm fine with that. Now, automatically, the 10 seed, they could be 6 games out of the 8 seed, and they have a chance to make the playoffs? That doesn't make any sense. Why are you expanding it that much?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They just want more playoff games and more playoff revenue, but it's ridiculous.
Oh, and people are going to eat it up. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, of course.
But you're taking away from, what it is to make the playoffs. It's giving teams that aren't deserving, who didn't play well, a chance to make the playoffs.
It'd be different if 6 teams or 4 teams make the playoffs, like football or baseball. I'm always a little more open to playoff expansion in football or baseball. Basketball, 8 teams make the playoffs.
Think of it this way. The team that just smacked us the other night was Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans, right? They have drastically underachieved this year. They have been 5, 6, 7 games under 500 a majority of the year. I don't know where they stand right now. I know Zion's heating up. But let's say they're the 10 seed, Mark, and they're 5 games under 500, right? Now you're the 7 seed, and you got to play Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, but like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not like they underachieved all year. They're games below 500. And now you're the 7 seed. The 7 seed in the West, like right now with Dallas, could end up being like 7 games over 500. And now they have to play in a play-in tourney. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I completely agree. Right now, Dallas is the 7 seed, 5 games over 500, and the 10 seed is Golden State, 2 games under 500. So there's a 4-game difference there.
Right, so now Dallas would have to play Steph if it ended today in the first round.
That's tough. That's
tough. Extremely tough.
Yeah.
The 9 seed to the 8 seed is one thing where if it's within a few games. Now, don't get me wrong. If the 9 seed is 7 games out of the 8 seed, they should not have a chance either. But if it's within a game to 3 games or whatever, I could see giving it a chance and creating more revenue. Outside of that, I hate every idea about it.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. All
right. With that being said, is there anything else you want to touch on about the Sixers game last night? Because obviously the Nets game will be breaking down tomorrow on the Daily Dose. Is there anything you wanted to discuss last night that you were disappointed in, that you liked, what you saw? I mean, again, it's what better way to rest Joel Embiid than to have good old-fashioned load management. It's what you've seen the last 2 games. And defensively, this team is just, I guess, bought into the system, and they put a chokehold on some teams, man. Like, okay, yeah, Luka got 32, but it was a tough earned 32, a tough, hard earned 32, and no one else really, stepped up. So they were held to 93 points or whatever last night. Like, you're not going to win games that way if you're the opposing team. So that's what I liked from the Sixers defensively. Should we move on to the teams that we are repping, to the team we are repping today, because we are just about 40 or so minutes away from first pitch?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. It's fighting time.
Yes, it is. me and you shared a couple texts last week after the Sixers swept the season series with Boston and the Phillies got a win, and we're like, dude, I'm all in. I don't care if we're 6 games into this Phillies season. I am all in. Since those texts, they did lose a series. But then, like you said, they got a much needed win in the finale. They are 6-3. Atlanta loses in extras last night to the Marlins. I know Mark here was scoreboard watching. I'm not going to lie. So was I. I was just a little quiet about it. I wasn't saying anything. I don't care if, again, we're a few games into the season. So we're going to talk about both games today as best we can, give our predictions, or look at the pitching matchups and everything like that. But first, Mark, I want to speak on the rain delay yesterday and give my thoughts and hear your thoughts about it. Because, look, we wanted to see Phillies baseball yesterday, right? But in hindsight, or now looking back on it, like, that rain delay drastically helped the Phillies. So the bullpen had to throw a lot of innings against the Atlanta Braves, right? They gave up a lot of runs. They had to throw a lot of innings. Archie Bradley's on a 10-day IL. Now that's one less game without him, right? Now you get a day off you weren't supposed to have. And then, the Mets also have only played 5 games so far, or 4 games or something like that. So the Mets haven't gotten into a rhythm because of COVID and now a rain delay, and that's another day off for them. So they're kind of not into full season form yet. And then you look at it from the doubleheader standpoint of what it provides, and excuse me, and now provides 2 7-inning games. And whatever your thoughts or opinions are on the shortened games are, whether you like it because it's less time that you have to watch a baseball game and it's more impactful and fun, or you don't like it because, it's shortened, it's whatever your thoughts are. I at least think, or you have to admit, that it helps the Phillies in this scenario. So now, not only is the bullpen, hopefully, knock on wood, going to get less strain and less innings through him, Chase Anderson, who we were probably hoping would get through 5 in a 9-inning game. Okay, well, now 5, or if he gets pulled in the 6th of a 7-inning game, that's great. And then you follow that up with Aaron Nola, your ace, who has the chance, if he's on, to either go 6 or a complete game in 7 innings, which is very possible for an Aaron Nola type of pitcher. So I think everything that has happened yesterday and then leading into the doubleheader has only benefited the Phillies' arms, whether you were pissed off that they didn't get to play last night or not.
Yeah, so just in terms of getting this out of the way, the 7-inning doubleheader thing, I think it's terrible. I hate it personally. I hate the runner on second and the extras. I hate these small little meaningless changes that baseball's trying to make to get millennials interested or to get people to watch that wouldn't normally watch baseball. And I hate that stuff, but whatever. You deal with it in WWE. They always cater to the casual fan instead of the people that are going to consume your product no matter what. And I get that. So it's a business difference. But looking at it from a Phillies perspective, I completely agree. It definitely helps the Phillies, especially today with Nola on the mound. And with it actually, in terms of, they pushed Dylan Peterson to tomorrow, and
right.
We've been absolutely raking Dylan Peterson, and Zach Wheeler gets his first start against a team that's not the Atlanta Braves. So hopefully Zach Wheeler steps up against his former team, the Mets, tomorrow against Dylan Peterson, who Rhys Hoskins and the rest of the team, Bryce Harper and JT, have all crushed in the last 2 times that he's faced us. So I feel, before I even get to talking about today, I just want to say I feel really good about tomorrow. So that that brings you back to today, where you have the first game with Chase Anderson, the second game with Aaron Nola. I think we all feel good anytime Nola's on the mound against pretty much anyone besides DeGrom. So I think we all feel good that Nola should get a win. It's a 7-inning game. It's baseball. Anything can happen. Obviously, you're not going to win every start.
Right. And he also didn't have his best. He didn't have his best stuff last time. So you're hoping that he comes out today with it.
Yeah, and honestly, we've seen a lot of times this year, because it does seem like the MLB has had a lot of teams play twice already. or multiple teams play twice already. So you're seeing these pitchers face off against these teams twice, and sometimes they have a rough start in the first time. Usually it means they come out the second time a little better because they know the lineup and the batters a little more. Or if they have a great start the first time, like we saw with Wheeler, his second start against the Braves wasn't as good. So it seems like it's been a split every time that the pitcher's gotten to face a lineup 2 times. It's been a little, it hasn't been consistent in terms of their performance from both times. So I'm hoping Nola has better stuff against the Mets today. It's worth bringing up that in that game with Nola, he had a huge lead to start the game. So I do think you pitch a little differently when you have a big lead as opposed to a 0-0 or 1-1 game or something like that. So I do think Nola's going to have a good night tonight. I think it'd be great to see him go 7 complete game in a 7-inning game and give the bullpen a rest. And I do think there's a good chance of that. So where I'm really at is if you could win that first game today, that is huge. And we're only like plus 120. So
yeah, so no, I agree. And I wanted to address that too before we dissect game 1 and then game 2 a little bit, because it was supposed to be a 4-game stand. As of right now, obviously the game's still on for Thursday, but it's like a 99% chance of rain Thursday in New York. It's supposed to be worse than yesterday was when it got canceled. And then there's a game Friday because we play for like, I don't know how many days in a row. It's like weeks. It's like a couple weeks worth of games in a row. So that game against what was supposed to be Jacob deGrom on Thursday versus Zach Eflin will probably be postponed if the rain stays on track for later in the season. So essentially this becomes a 3-game series in my mind right now. And, I feel great as well. Zach Wheeler didn't have his best stuff last time out against the Braves. He gets David Peterson tomorrow. I feel great about that. And then I agree with you. You have Nola on the mound versus Stroman in game 2. If you can win this first game, now, obviously the Phillies should only be focused on the first game, the first inning of the first game, not anything past it like we're looking at it like. But if you can win that game with Chase Anderson on the mound, flip it back up to the top of your rotation, you have a great chance to take 2 of 3 out of the Mets again, but a chance for another sweep early in this season. Not that the Phillies should be looking at it that way, just how I'm viewing it. But Mark, let's get into game 1, which, like I said, first pitch is in just over a half hour now. It is Chase Anderson on the bump for the Titans versus Taijuan Walker. Tell me if I mispronounced that, Mark. Think I'm good? The lineup for game 1, guys, here it is. Kutch leading off, followed by Hoskins, Harper, Bohm in the cleanup spot, Didi Gregorius, Segura 6. Andrew Knapp gets the start for catcher in the first game for Anderson, which means you'll see JT in the second game for Nola. Roman Quinn in the 8-hole over Hazley. I'd imagine you see Hazley in the second game, and then wrapped up with Anderson batting 9th. So, Mark, thought on this lineup, just looking at it, and how comfortable you are feeling with it. Any changes you would make?
Yeah, I mean, I'd send Roman Quinn to the alternate site, but it's fine. Andrew Knapp, he gets his day. We were talking smack on him the game we went to. He ended up hitting a homer the first game we went to, and he ended up hitting a homer that day. So, who knows? Maybe Andrew Knapp figured it out this offseason, but it's whatever. JT has to sit a certain amount of days, so you keep him for the second game.
Double,
yeah. Again, the first game is really like gravy to me. If they can win that first game, it's like it's setting up for a really like stress-free 2 games with your best pitchers on the mound. And if not, it sets up a situation where you really feel like you have to win, because we can take 2 or 3 or 3 or 4, whatever you want to say, from the Mets. That would be a really rough start for the Mets to start the season. I think they'd be like 3-6 or 3-5, whatever that is. Be a really rough start for the Mets to come back from.
Your boy Joe Chick says, I'll take another performance like last game from Chase Anderson, 5 innings and 2 earned, especially during a 7-inning game. I completely agree. I would be more than thrilled with that. Look, Matt Moore was a guy that the Phillies have won both starts that Matt Moore has pitched in, but he has not looked good in either start, in my opinion. Chase Anderson, I feel like they ended up losing that game with Chase Anderson on the bump the first time against the Mets. So I think people kind of frown upon it then, but he didn't pitch poorly. So hopefully he can continue to pitch well against the Mets today. Looking at the lineup, I completely agree. I went on my Roman Quinn rant yesterday on the Daily Dose. I'll go on it every day. He's not an MLB player. All that speed, can run his ass back from first base to the dugout or after he strikes out. He's only been on base this year, unless I've missed something over the weekend while I was out, where He's been hit by a pitch. It's the only time he's been on. He almost pulled one over the left field wall against Atlanta on Sunday, but didn't have enough juice. Look, man, I want to like the guy. And if he could get on base, he'd be great for this ball club with all that speed. He can't. And he's not very good in the outfield either. So it's come on. So, Mark, just looking at it from a managerial perspective with Joe Girardi, do you think he's looking at it anyway, like we just explained and laid out, because it is Anderson on the mound. He throws Knapp out there for the first game instead of JT. He throws Quinn out there for the first game instead of Adam Hazley. Do you think he's kind of looking at, like you said, gravy, like, okay, I'm going to throw out this lineup and give the guys rest for the better start later. And if we can win this one, great. If not, I'm not sweating it.
Yeah, Taijuan Walker, I was just looking it up to try, because I did remember he had a good start against us last year. And it was at the end of, I think it was in September, for Toronto. And he went 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 1 run of baseball. So a really good start for Taijuan Walker against a pretty similar team this year. So it's not something you want to see. I think the Mets are favored. I think they're like -120, -130, whatever that may be. But I think that the Phillies have an absolute chance to win any game that they play with the bats that we have in our lineup, with Bryce and with Reese, with Bohm, with Segura, Didi, Kutch, all those guys. Even if Knapp and Roman Quinn can't hit to save their life, or the pitcher at 9, even if that 7, 8, 9 is not very good, that top 6 is so strong or top 5, even if you want to say Segura's whatever, but that top 5 is so strong that we have a chance in any game because they could go off. And it's not like Taijuan Walker's some impenetrable force. Yeah. Like, he had a great start against us last year, but he's up and down. So he did have a good first start for the Mets this year, but I feel very, very confident that the Phillies will at least win 1 game today.
I agree, man. So let's get into that. Also, Bryce Harper, back-to-back games with a home run in Atlanta the last 2 games. Does it seem like Bryce is heating up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we even saw at the game against Dylan Peterson.
Yeah, he broke that.
That was a rope. It got to the fence in like 1 second. It was insane. So I think he's on the ball right now, whether he's hitting it out or not, he has the last 2 games. But I'm just happy to see him getting doubles, getting homers, getting walks, just doing his Bryce Harper thing and seeing a bunch of pitches. Same with Rhys Hoskins, and getting these starters out of the game as fast as you can. And Bryce and Reese are the two of the best in the MLB at that.
All right, man. So let's get to prediction time for this doubleheader. Win and loss category. And then, since there's 2 games, give me 2 stars for today that you have for this Phillies team to be successful. We do know Rhys Hoskins is hopefully today's version of Chase Utley as that Met color, but he doesn't get to play his favorite opponent till tomorrow in David Peterson. So are you going 1-1 tonight, or are you going to bust out and tell me we're going 2-0?
I'm saying we're going to go 2-0. I don't feel great about the first win, but there are some odds boosts out there on a sports book, and it's plus 350, plus 400. It's for you to bet on the Phillies to win both games today of the doubleheader. There's odds boosts on many sports books. BetRivers is one you should use, and go bet the Phillies to win both games. You can parlay it as a doubleheader, and whatever the odds are, it's a good bet, because if you win that first game, you have Aaron Nola at plus 350 or plus 400 on the mound. You're feeling great. You put $10 on it, you can win 40. So it's I have that just for some fun tonight. I think that the Phillies will definitely win the second game. I feel really good about that second game tonight. I'm trying to look for our best hitters against Taijuan Walker real quick. I'm struggling here, but I will say against Marcus Stroman, I do know that Didi Gregorius has faced him like 36 times. Obviously, they were both in the AL East for a while. So he is very familiar with him. He's hit like 3 or 4 dingers against him. I think Didi Gregorius will be the star of the second game against Marcus Stroman. It's someone he's seen a lot, and I expect him to get a couple hits, maybe hit a homer tonight.
I like it, man. I really want to say 2-0, but I also want to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. This Phillies team was not good in doubleheaders at all last year. But you know what, Mark? You've inspired me. This team has inspired me through 9 games at 6-3 in first place of the NL East. And they're not the same team. The bullpen's not the same team. How many times in doubleheaders last year did we have to watch a bullpen game be one of those games where David Hale was the starter for 2 innings and someone else comes in for an inning or two, and it was a whole mess last year. It's not that this year. Like you said, I have full, especially because Stroman kind of beat up on us the last time out when we lost to the Mets in game 2 of that series. So I don't expect the second time through this lineup, especially you'll see JT in the second game, Nola on the bump. I can't foresee, him doing that again. So I think we win the second game. And when I'm looking at Anderson and Taijuan Walker, I'm just going to have confidence that we can score enough to beat this Mets team. They're not in a rhythm. They had another day off that they weren't supposed to have off. Their bullpen isn't any good either. Well, I'm not saying that ours isn't now, but their bullpen isn't any good. Hopefully we switched roles with them. And if the key to the game to me is, I know it's only 7 innings, but can you get to their bullpen semi-early through 3 or 4 innings in this first game versus Taijuan Walker and set up Chase Anderson in a good spot? So, you know what? I'm going to say that the Phils take 2, and I'm just smelling. I got my broom right over across the room from me. I'm smelling another sweep, Mark, because like you, I am confident. This is if it's 3 games, by the way. I don't think they're going to beat the DeGrom, but I think it gets rained out, so I'm going sweep for now. But yeah, man, I'm going 2-0 tonight. And as far as bats, I'm going to stay with one of the hot bats, and that is the guy named a couple minutes ago, and Bryce Harper. I think in one of the 2 games he sends one deep into the night against the Mets. And then I'm going to say Gene Segura pulls one over the wall today.
All right. And I just looked up our numbers against Taijuan Walker. The guy with the most plate appearances against Taijuan Walker is also Didi Gregorius. So I'm going double stars, Didi Gregorius. I think he has a big day today. I think I'll start both games because I think Girardi sees that he's had a lot of experience against both guys. I don't think he'll get a rest or anything. I think Didi will have a great day. And I think if you're making me go 2 stars, I'll say Chase Anderson, the guy I've been pushing for months now. I've been a big Chase Anderson guy for years. So I think Chase Anderson pitches well enough to get us a win.
Does Didi hit his first opposite field home run in his career?
Yeah, it's gonna be today. The first one is like 10-year career. Yeah.
Let's see. Before we wrap up, I do see there are some comments. I want to say JT Realmuto has a big game in one of these 2 games, so he's not playing in the first game, but he will play in the second game. So I hope you are correct there. I need Harper to send one deep. I have Bryce home run over for the season. Well, he's already hit 2 in the young going of this year. And just real quick to wrap up, no, we didn't touch on this. Absolutely sucks. I was with the Lakers injuries, and who knows when LeBron and AD will come back and what they'll be like. I love the Aaron Gordon fit in Denver, as did Mark, and they were playing really, really good. The Joker is the leader for the MVP, although I think by the end of the year, Joel should beat him out, but he's still playing at that level. That's it for Denver, in my opinion. That's all she wrote. They can't compete without Jamal Murray. So that really sucks for him and for Denver Nuggets fans.
Yeah. Jamal Murray is one of my favorite players in the league. Anyone who knows me and follows me for the NBA draft, I love Kentucky guards. It's like a sickness for me. I always fall in love with Kentucky guards. John Wall, to Jamal Murray, to Malik Monk, to
Fox.
Tyrese Maxey. I actually wasn't a huge Fox guy. I was wrong there, so I was wrong. That's, of course, the one that I didn't love. I missed out on. But the other guy, I always fall for Kentucky guards. And Jamal Murray was a guy that I, for a long time before he really broke out, wanted to try to trade for every year, wanted to try to trade up to draft that year he was in the draft. I love Jamal Murray. I always have. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Last year in the NBA playoffs, I think that my favorite storyline of the NBA playoffs was the breakout of Jamal Murray. And I know for fantasy basketball this year, Jamal Murray was escalated because people were expecting him to put up the type of numbers he put up in the playoffs. And he didn't really. He actually kind of did have a bit of a disappointing season, but even with that disappointing season, the Nuggets were the 4 seed in a tough Western Conference, above the Lakers, above the Blazers. I think that they probably drop below those teams now. Maybe they're a 6 seed. Maybe they have to play the Clippers in the first round or the Lakers in the first round. It's going to be tough for them to beat anyone. Jamal Murray is really like a gut punch. It would be like us losing Ben Simmons or us losing, obviously not like Jokic is their Joel Embiid, but Jamal's a way different player than Ben. But it's a complete gut punch, complete stab in the back to Denver fans. I feel terrible for them. I actually thought if the Lakers, didn't get their stuff together or weren't healthy, I thought that Denver was. Yeah, I thought they'd be the team that got out of the West, even over the Clippers, over the Jazz. But looks like Phoenix. I would say this, not that
helps Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, not that you look at injuries and how they help people, but I think Phoenix and Utah are a lot more serious contenders than they were yesterday.
I agree with you, even though Utah lost to Bradley Beal on the Washington Wizards last night.
I don't think Utah's an actual legitimate contender.
I
feel like I just have to say their names so people don't come after me. But really, I think the Lakers and the Suns are the two best teams in the West. If the Lakers are healthy, they'll win the West. If not, the Suns will.
All right, good stuff from Mark, as always. Before we wrap up, you can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98. Give Mark a follow at Mark Henry Jr. _ Go ahead.
Real quick, 2 baseball picks.
I
gave you the Phillies because I'm not doing the Tough Cover podcast today. Not a lot on the slate tonight. I don't like anything in the NBA. So 3 picks today. I gave out the Phillies doubleheader plus 400. Whatever odds you can find it at. I like it above 300. So Phillies doubleheader plus 400. And I also like the Cardinals to beat the Nationals tonight. Flaherty on the mound against Strasburg. I'll go with my guy Flaherty. And then I like this as my best bet for 2 units. The Cincinnati Reds over the San Francisco Giants, the Fighting Gabe Kapler. So I'm rooting for the Cincinnati Reds tonight, 9:45. That's on ESPN. Right after the Phillies game at 7:40, which is on ESPN. So those are my picks tonight. I'll tweet them out from the account.
So what? The Phils are on NBC Sports Philly Plus, and then ESPN in the second one.
Yeah, they must be. Maybe because the Flyers are on, or
yeah.
They might double cast it though. Sometimes they'll put them on like the other NBC Sports Plus or whatever.
That's what the first game's on. I think that's the first game is on the channel. But yeah, and then if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the Painted Lines YouTube and Twitch account. And follow them on Twitter at the Painted Lines. Really quickly, I just saw this comment here. I'm going with Ben for Defensive Player of the Year. I think people are going to hold that those games missed against Joel Embiid. He's my MVP. I think he's the best player in basketball right now, but I think they're going to hold that against him. And as consistently as Joel Embiid has been the MVP when he's on the floor, offensively and defensively, Ben has been as consistent defensively, in my opinion. I know Mark thinks Joel Embiid is actually a Defensive Player of the Year candidate ahead of Ben, or right there with Ben as well. Not that I disagree, but I just think Ben's been there. Every time they bring the rankings out, Ben's top 1, 2, 3. And I think this is finally the year they don't disrespect him and just give it to a rim protector and Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert cannot guard 1 through 5.
I think it'll be Gobert. I think that the
Which
nerds
will piss me off.
Yeah, I think the nerds just love Gobert. I'm not even saying Ben doesn't deserve it. I just think it's hard to. If I wasn't a Sixers fan, I think it'd be hard for me to argue, given how just insanely good Joel is. And I'm someone who Giannis was playing with really good defenders last year, so I had a problem when Giannis won it because I didn't think that he was definitively the best defender on the team. I wanted Anthony Davis to win it. So I think the Gobert thing is nonsense. I think Giannis winning was nonsense. So it'd be hard for me to then say I think Ben Simmons should win it. But I like I've said time and time again, I think Joel Embiid is the MVP, and I think I'm putting my faith in it. I'm manifesting it. I'm talking it and speaking into existence. I really think we're going to finish the season out strong, and Joel Embiid's going to be the MVP, and we're going to get that moment. He's going to get his flowers.
I hope you're right. So with that being said, guys, go grab a drink, go grab some food, whatever you're going to do. Plop down on the couch like I'm about to do for hours on end and watch 14-plus innings of baseball. Go Phillies, go Sixers. Hashtag Joel for MVP. Mark, if you're free tomorrow, feel free to join Gint and I on the Daily Dose tomorrow at 4. Hopefully Coach Gint will be back. I don't know what his excuse was today. I just got the I'm out for today text. So hopefully he'll be back. You can join us, and we will be reviewing both games from tonight. Hopefully the Phillies do go 2-0 or at least split, previewing tomorrow's series. Well, tomorrow's game until we know if Thursday's rained out. Tomorrow's Mets game, and then we all know tomorrow is the big Nets-Sixers matchup. So we'll be previewing that as well. So thank you guys so much for watching and commenting along. Have a nice night, and go Phils.